We've got a special guest with us on episode 14 of Crossroads. What's your name?
Tom Dano. Or how do you say it, Ward?
Well, wait a minute. What did you say about Y50?
Well, my last name's Dano, and you pronounce it
Dano,
which I've always kind of liked. But at the end, I never watched Y50, but I guess they had a main character named Dano. And at the end of every episode, one of the guys, the catchfrace was like, "Book 'em, Dano," or something.
Okay.
So
Sound like
McDonald's-
Archie Bunker
Yeah.
of Y.
The family vehicle growing up had "Book 'em" on the license plate. So that's about the extent of the knowledge I have of Hawaii.
Well, it sounds German.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Dano.
It was probably a lot longer at some point,
Okay.
right? And then it got chopped down to Dano. But
Well, we
it's a good
call you
simple way.
Mr. Dano because you're such a great asset for the Jeb Burton team.
Oh, thank you.
That's actually we can dive into that for a minute. What in the hell do you do on
It's a great question.
a normal basis? So I found Tom. Tom is working for me full time now, and it takes a lot. Dad and I have talked about it a couple times, but it takes a lot to make this sport work. And we have probably from Crossroads to the racing side, probably 25 to 30 different partners that we work with, all on a different scale, but we treat them all the same. And each one has something different that they want. And Tom's been a great asset. You've been a great asset, and I can't do it alone. And my sister Sarah helps some too, but there's just a lot that goes into it, things that people just don't have a clue about. And it was actually Sarah's idea to bring you on the podcast, and I thought it was a great idea. And just wanted to know on your side, one, how different do we do things compared to other people that that work with, and what makes it all go?
Well, what makes it all go? We've talked about this, I think. So my background before I was with you, I was on a Cup Series team. I was at Levine Family Racing doing account management for them. Right, helped run that Procore account that they had on the '95 car for a long time. And one of the things that made that partnership work there was Procore was construction software, right? And the team owner, Bob Levine, made his money in the general contracting business in East Texas, right?
He was a good dude.
He was. I was very close with the family. Bob's grandson, Michael, and his wife, Kenda, I actually lived with them for a couple of years when I was in college. That was kind of my first introduction into the sport, right? Was racing, doing all that with them and going intern for them when I was in college and then going on the road when I got out. But what I saw firsthand there was what made that partnership work with Procore was that it was authentic, because like Bob was a construction guy, right? He could speak the language of the guests and all the different people that Procore would want to bring to the racetrack, because they were general contractors, right, that would use the Procore software. So that was kind of my introduction, seeing that. And then when I started working with you, I got the same principle, same vibe, whatever you want to call it, of everything we do with the partners works because it's authentic, right? We don't just go out and try to find any partner that just, we can slap on the hood of the car and just send it out on the racetrack, because we've learned that doesn't work.
Did you know that Kotex was on Dad's car?
Did not know that.
Yeah, that's a tampon company.
You really?
I've got a storage of it.
Do you really?
If you need a bar, let me know.
Yeah, but Kimberly
Hell of all the things you bring that up. I thought we were talking about authentic partners.
I know, that's why I brought it up.
You
Because
think that's authentic?
yes,
I looked at Ward and said,
it was our pink Kotex.
And very needy.
took a look at Ward and said, "That's our guy."
Go ahead, Tom.
No, but it's what made that partnership work at LFR was, again, that it was authentic. And then with the partnerships we have here, all the partnerships we have are authentic. And in my opinion, I've seen a lot of the racing sport now, right? And kind of got a pretty good grasp, I think, of what's going on with the business generally. And I think truly what works is, listen, you've got the race car, and you do a great job of driving it, putting it up front, trying to get TV time for these partners as much as we can. That's obviously a huge piece of it. But we always talk about we have to control what we can control. right? And so much of racing is out of your control, out of my control, out of anybody's control, right? So what we can do with the partners like Norma and all these partnerships that are authentic to what you guys do in your daily life off the racetrack makes this whole thing work, right? Because it's not just the sticker on the race car where if you go out and you run bad, it might not be the value you necessarily want to show to the partners. We've got a list of things with the TV show, with the social media, with this podcast, of ways to always try to get people's message out there, right? And that's important. That's what they're ultimately investing in, right? Is this platform that you and Ward and everybody has built, and then investing in your ability driving the race car around. And that's kind of what I try to help keep moving, right? And that looks very different every day, depending on each partner. We've got partners all over the board that are in different fields and they want different things and have different goals as a business. So that's where I try to help you, I think. Keep it in between the lines, right? And make sure we're delivering for those partners and making sure they got somebody that picks up the phone when they call, right? So yeah, I think
And then,
it's a long way of saying I do what I'm told.
yeah, but you do more than just what you said, like on a weekly basis. Like, for example, like this past weekend, you had 30 customers there,
Yeah.
and Tom is giving tours of the hauler, making sure everybody's taken care of, and then during the race, getting people headsets, putting them on the pit box. There's a lot of different things to make an experience different. And like with our sport, you could never go down and get close to a football player. Well, in our sport, you can come right up beside the car and take a picture, and
Yeah.
we're very accessible and can do things a lot different than any other sport. And when it's a lot of customers, it makes your job a little hectic sometimes.
It does. I call it herding cats at the racetrack sometimes. There's a lot of herding cats, but I mean, again, Coda, I flew in on race day and we had like 30 people there. But you should see people's faces, like even after normally you come in, one of the first things we do is give them a hauler tour, right? And you could tell the people, I always try to ask, like, is this your first race? What's your familiarity with racing, right? Because I like to know what we're starting with, because you could kind of see, like, when you take people in the hauler for the first time is kind of when they see, like, oh, this isn't just cars going in a circle or something that I see on TV. Like, there's a lot that goes into this. You see the guys coming in and out of the hauler, all the equipment, everything going on. So you kind of set the tone with it there. And then when you tell them you're going to get to go out to the grid and take a picture with Jeb in the fire suit right before the race, literally hanging out until the second we strap him in the race car and go racing. You tell people that and you see their face light up. They're like, wow, like they had no idea they were going to get that kind of access to it. So it's cool. I love racing. I grew up a huge fan of it. I've never driven anything in my life, but I've always taken pride and enjoyed, like, when I went to a racetrack as a kid, somebody helped me have a good experience and it led into a career, right? Not necessarily that's going to turn into a career for somebody, but come to the racetrack for the day, feel like you're part of our team, enjoy the experience. And if you're a partner, see that you're getting something out of your investment. If you're a guest, just come have a good time for the day. Hopefully strengthen that relationship you have with the partner that might be getting you to the racetrack. Yeah. And then when those engines fire up, I put my hands up in the air and say, this is somebody else's problem for a few hours.
Well,
But-
it was good timing, you coming on board for Jeb, and Jeb has done a really good job of realizing he couldn't keep up with all of it anymore by himself. So you've been a great right-hand man to him. You're honest, you're a hard worker. He obviously trusts you. I trust you a lot, respects you. And, that's a good example, like what experience you help his partners experience at the racetrack. Because those little things, Tom, of not having to go sign in, having their credentials, having a ride to get to here to there, those little things go a long way to make a difference for their experience to be very positive. So you do an awesome job.
Thank you. No, we do those guest packets every weekend, right? And as dumb as it sounds, you've been to how many racetracks? All of us have. If you're a fan that's never been to a racetrack before and you walk up at Daytona and you see the size of that place and the scope of that place, and you don't have a little packet telling you where to go or how to get, I don't know how people get around.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So it's racing's a different world that, like, if you've lived in it for a long time, I think you can go numb to, right? And you got to be able to give people that little bit of, like, get them in the door, make it easy for them. And once you're there, it's a cool product. That's where you hook them.
It is, but it's a good point where you're sending maps beforehand, you're sending emails, you're explaining exactly how to do this and that. NASCAR finally made it easier to get your hard credential, your hot credential, excuse me, and things of that nature. And then with you being there at the track and Jeb not necessarily having to worry about each individual detail, hey man, it makes an experience a difference between a little bit of a cluster, if you will, to just a wonderful experience.
100%.
So that's one part of what you do. But
That's right.
during the week, how many different Zoom calls and how many different proposals and how many different things are we doing to try to keep this going? Because we have a lot of partners and a lot of funds coming in the door, but we need more.
Yeah.
And racing's expensive, and we're still not where we want to be at. And we're working tirelessly. I mean, explain some of that what goes on. Like, really only Sundays you have off when you go to the racetrack because you're there on Saturday or even Friday. Like, explain to people what goes on a Monday through Thursday with you and I.
Monday through Thursday with you and I every week, especially once we get into the season, is kind of like what you just said right there. It's a balancing act of making sure we're fulfilling everything we have for the partner that's on the car that weekend, right? I think we ran 33 races last year, and I think we had close to 17 or 18 different paint schemes for those races, right? So making sure those things are always lined
We
up
have
and
to,
on track.
because
No, absolutely, we've got to.
the days of one sponsor being on the car.
Look at the entire Xfinity series. It's what, Brandt, and that's really the only partner you see that probably takes more than realistically 6 or 7 races, right? At the 00 or whatever they have, right? But there's not a ton of partners anymore that can come in and take a big chunk of the season. So it's a mix of that, trying to keep that moving week by week. And then constantly, I'm not out there finding new business. You do a great job of finding these companies to reach out to. And then it's a lot of times it's having an introductory conversation with them where the goal really is just to learn about what their business goals are, what they want to do, what they have done, what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them. And then, what we try to do is sit back and then look at the menu options that we have for things, again, like we said, with the podcast and the TV show and everything, and figure out how a partner can fit into those different avenues. And then it's on us ultimately to show them ROI on what they're giving us at the end of the year, right? And that's, I say it on a lot of our calls, that's part of what I think makes this work. Is racing is clearly, as I'm sitting in your basement, racing is clearly the family business here, right? And I've always appreciated that if we can go to these partners and say, listen, the only way this is going to work for us, right, is if we do what we're telling you we're going to do, right? We're going to deliver on these things. And it really puts the onus back on us to execute these partnerships, to do what we're saying we're going to do, over deliver. You do a great job over delivering on everything we say we're going to do with the social media. So that's the Monday through Thursday, really. I mean, it's finding these new companies, it's putting proposals together, it's building renderings or whatever it is to try to win these companies over. And then at the same time, maintaining the relationships you have. Because realistically, I mean, it's not, an exaggeration. I say we need every one of these partners to go to the racetrack.
If we lose one of them, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, we had lost probably 4 in the off season. Things out of our control, and we replaced 90% of them.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Well, and a lot of that's a good opportunity
to replace, but we hated to lose partners, but different people get into different companies, people sell companies. I mean, management changes. It's normally it's normally what kills the relationship.
Yeah. But again, in my mind, especially what helped us rebound this off season is we're creative with what we do, You know what I mean? It's not, it's not just something like, oh, we lost this sponsor. We have to find somebody that's just going to fit this exact same role that this previous partner had. We can be adaptable to different things, right? And figure out different opportunities of how these partners can fit in at the race team, or whatever it is. So yeah, but then that's part of it. People always ask, what do you do in the off season? It's a ton of that. Right?
Yeah, it's no off season.
Y'all got it going on every day.
Yeah.
Jeb was, and we were late doing this podcast because Jeb had an unexpected Zoom call with another company, and he is the master of finding opportunities that will fit, and fit the brand, and that he can help with their marketing plan.
So where all that came from was, so obviously my career has been, I've lost how many rides from the team shutting down, sponsors, so on. But about 2015, 16, Dad was working really hard trying to find deals, and it wasn't really coming together. And he was just, it was at a point where I was like, all right, I need to do it myself. And I just said, well, I'm going to do it myself going forward. And then that, well, I wasn't having the success on the racetrack because I knew I wasn't in anything worth a damn for a while. And at that point in my career, and I just kept losing all these deals and started building. But people like State Water Heater stuck with me, and I would just find little deal, and then I started having some success. But I used the struggle to try to figure out a way to get creative and make it work. And then because of that, it created Crossroads with Dad and I, because I wasn't racing full time. So if I would have been racing full time, my business side of me wouldn't be where I'm at today. It wouldn't. So I think, yes, I would love to be in the, like Ryan Blaney, I came up racing with Ryan, right? His path, I'd love to have his path. But my path and his path have been different. I didn't have a car owner that was behind me like he did, right? Like, but I feel like on my side, I've learned a lot of the business stuff. And if I would have done what he did, that would have been great. I would rather have his path, right? But I feel like in 20 years, I'm creating other businesses where a lot of the drivers, when they're done racing, they're trying to figure out what's next, and they're doing that now, right? But I feel like I'm ahead of the game on some of that. And if you look at the Xfinity Series, there's nobody in that garage that does what me and you do. Yeah. There's not. Yeah. There's either a dad riding the damn check or a grandpa riding it. End of story. That's it. There's a couple car owners that have funding that put their guys in the car, a couple. But other than that, we do it. You and I and Dad do it. We do it. Nobody writes a damn check for our racing. Yep. We find it and make it work. And when we get to Sundays, that's where we want to go. I want to race on Sunday.
What you just said there, you should give yourself credit for, is what came out of that struggle, right? Creating Crossroads and everything. That's what we hear from the partners today is realistically the most appealing part of when we go to talk to these companies, because we can offer more than just a race car, right? It's the offering that sends us apart. That sets us apart from other people, in my opinion, is we can, or it gets us into conversations where, you know, if a sponsor, so many of the partners end up talking to other race teams, right? Or not our current partners, but anybody you might go after. But what you've created through that struggle is what is sticky to somebody like a Norma, right? It's what keeps them engaged and keeps them coming back, because it now kind of allows you to tell a story, right, about what you're doing with the brand. And then you go out and you run top 10 with them in Atlanta.
We got a ton of TV time.
Company like that, that's the best TV, the only real TV advertising they can do, right?
Yeah.
So we get creative with how we do it. And
when Tom talks about that real quick, like Norma Ammunition, the world we live in, you cannot advertise ammunition, guns, tobacco, but you can advertise alcohol. So whatever. But we found a way, and thankful to NASCAR for not blocking that we can, we got creative and found a partner. And there's other ammunition companies in the sport now as well. So, but I feel like that's been a cool success story is the Norma partnership.
Well, back to your point. We just had a company at the Cove using your production company, Jeb, with Aaron and a couple others. So I mean, you've done a really good job to diversify your portfolio, which gives them other avenues to engage with you, me at times, other than just at the racetrack. So that's what Tom is getting at, and it is working for you, and you've done a good job, and y'all work really hard at it.
It's working. If you knew the frustration, like you do know, Dad, but I mean, a normal person, the frustrations to make it all work, it's not very easy, because what happens is you're dealing with humans, right? People don't respond to emails. People don't pay things on time. You have management changes. You have contracts you're waiting on. The stress, and then all of a sudden, also you got the driving the vehicle. I wish that's all I had to worry about was driving that damn vehicle. I don't
what
have it
you're
like
dealing with. Corporate America has changed a lot, and it really changed after the 08, 09, 010 financial crisis. Companies don't give as easy as they used to for marketing campaigns. And it used to be one person, a CEO, could just make a decision. Now it's normally a group of people that make decisions. So the world has changed, and it's made that part of it more difficult for someone like you.
Yeah, and I blame social media for that too, because all these companies, they spend millions of dollars on Google ads, they spend millions of dollars on Facebook ads. When you were racing, they didn't have those. They didn't have those things. But that was a good. Hopefully, everybody kind of understood that.
Well, so what we always focus on too is a positive, right? The positive is it could always be more of a struggle. It could be worse.
It was.
It was. So the positive is you took what I said to you that day, that I couldn't keep it up. And you know what? The potential partners did not want to talk to me, because I'm a dad trying to help.
They don't want to talk to you now. Like, and not in a disrespectful way, but like it's no different than like with Jordan Anderson, my car owner. He doesn't, and I'm not going to name any names, but there are other drivers out there that their dads have got involved, and it has hurt them. As a car owner, I have a late model. I don't want to look, I'll listen to the father, but it's a whole different conversation if the kid's coming to me talking about the race car than the dad. It's like, it's not good. And I've seen dads in the Cup Series garage arguing with team owners and crew chiefs and stuff, and that's a very bad look.
I try to keep my distance. I got my opinion, and it's hard for me sometimes.
I mean,
it's really difficult. Because my nature is to say what needs to be said now and not wait till later. But I'm not going to cause a problem for you. Anybody that knows me at all knows I got my friends back and got my son back in a good day and a bad day 24/7. And Tom, you're one of them. I don't need to say nothing else. You're your own man. You're your own. I will never cause an incident for you where your dad was the problem at the racetrack.
So Sarah,
I'm there to support y'all and help in any way when I'm at.
Sarah told me a story about Dad getting with you. What happened there, Tom?
What you so you were running? It was Martinsville in November.
I was running good.
And Jeb was running top 10 all day, having a real good day. And Ward, whenever Ward's at the racetrack, I remember the first couple of years I started running with you, you'd show up at the racetrack and then you disappear during the middle of the race. And for a while I was like, man, where's Ward? Trying to figure out where Ward would go. Now I'm like, he always finds his way back. But Martinsville, where do you go at Martinsville?
I go on the back stretch where the motorhomes are lined up.
So I was sitting behind the pit box. I think it was the end of stage 2. Maybe I'm sitting behind the pit box and I look at my phone. And Ward's calling me. And I pick up the phone. It's under caution. I could hear. And I go, what's up? And he goes, hey, go up there and tell Shane to put some front braking. And I was like, yeah, okay. I hung up the phone. I never went and said a word to Shane. Wasn't going to bug Shane, kind of like we're talking about.
But they did put front brake.
But that was the thing. A couple laps later, Shane got on the radio and started talking about it. And you texted me, sounds like they are discussing. And I just said yes. So I remember I texted Sarah going, Ward definitely thinks he got us, helped us get dialed in.
Well, I normally can't tell you what to do to race car, particularly these new race cars that are not the same. But I know him at Martinsville, and he's never going to run well with a lot of rear brake.
Put front brake, and I think it helped. Ward was right.
Yeah.
We were riding on the bus after COTA. You have to park the rental car at a place and ride a damn bus to where we go anyway. I'm sitting there with a guy who used to work at Bill Davis's, and he told me that one time at Bristol, you and Tommy were arguing like hell at each other about something. It was in 2002, 2003 time frame. And Tommy got so pissed off that he left the car at the racetrack. And that Tuesday morning, somebody with a rollback had to go get the race car. What happened in that situation?
I don't know.
Do you remember that?
Well, Tommy and I would sometimes have heated conversations during the battle. But that was the time that him and Bill were really falling out. So
it wasn't you.
Oh, I had nothing to do with a car staying behind. No, I mean, so when Davis fired Tommy, I think that was at the Kansas race. It's crazy, you know, if you look at 2002, we won 2 races that year, but we were falling apart. We had lost all the corporate Dodge support because of the Toyota development that Davis was doing. Fired Baldwin, I think that was shortly. I think that was 2003. Anyway, that had something to do with the team, not me.
I got you. I just thought that was.
Because why would I have anything to do with a car being left after?
I don't know. The car I was driving this past weekend, I wish they left that piece of shit at the racetrack.
Well, it seems like every time you run it, y'all pretty much say the same thing.
I don't know. I was done with that race car this past weekend. We were horrible at COTA. We can talk about that for a minute. We just missed it. Not good. Just was all over the place. Got in the race and was making some headway. Lap 3 or lap 2, I got on the outside of Hocevar on that new section. Like I was all the way up to his door number. And he just acted like I wasn't there. I slammed on brakes. Lost 10 car lengths, 5 car lengths, because I was going to destroy my car. Caught in the next lap in the same corner, so I went down low, and he just acted like I wasn't there again. And I was just like, I'm not letting off again. So it didn't even hurt his car that bad, and he just got out. They said he didn't have a radio or something, but that's the way he was driving. Like he didn't know what the hell was around him. Normally when I don't have a radio, I use my mirrors. And I'm cautious getting into corners, and I'm looking what the hell's around me.
Now, you don't normally cause anybody to have a bad day like that. I don't think you really meant to.
I didn't mean to stuff him in the wall.
You barely hit him. It just was the wrong time. It slid.
I was there, and I wasn't letting off again because he about destroyed my car the lap before, and I was already pissed off about that. So, yeah, it wasn't intentional, but it happened. But then the rest of the time, we got some stage points. It just was a frustrating weekend. Glad to get the hell out of there. Like, that's one of my best road course races, and road course tracks, and we just missed it. And a race car can make you look so good and make you look so bad. And that was not a fun weekend. But I talked to Mark and Shane yesterday, and we're all good, and I feel like we got a really good plan for this weekend at Phoenix, and should be good. We're still 7th in points, so that's good. I just wish I could have my Daytona finish in 6th and then a 15th last week, and I would be 4th in points. So
Well, let's hope y'all can bounce back and get some momentum going at Phoenix.
yeah, the real season starts now. So, and then I wanted to touch a minute about Atlanta. You brought Atlanta up. We got a lot of TV time, so that was cool. I got really lucky to make that big save on the back straightaway. And I was talking to Harrison. Harrison was hoping I was going to save it, because if I wouldn't have saved it and hit him in the right rear, it would probably flipped him, because I was fully locked, and that thing would have came back and hit him in the right rear quarter panel.
Yeah, when you saw the in-car camera, man,
It was fully locked to the right.
You've been always really good at saving the car, but you had some skill and some luck to make that wheel come back straight with that.
That was a big one.
That hit. I mean, it's really crazy. So you were so lucky at those first 2 races on the first 5 laps. In both, you had the wreck on the back stretch that could have ended your day easily at Daytona. You were lucky to find a hole to get through, and the daggone turnaround, the same damn thing happened at Atlanta. So
Can you imagine, though, sit there and think about that? What if that would have took me out and that would took me out?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
30th in points.
But it's not just the points, it's the momentum. It's not getting the TV time for your partner. That's the part of racing that easily could have happened. That's the kind of thing that did happen to you last year. You had no luck. If it was going to happen, it happened. So hey, y'all just keep working hard, and you hope that you'll continue having no bad luck like those races we were just speaking about.
Yeah, I feel good about these next couple, and we'll see where we go after these next 2. But yeah, we got some luck on our side. We don't need any more. We don't need any more bad luck. But you actually won an Xfinity race at Atlanta. Was that when the back straightaway was the front straightaway?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that the Hardy's car?
Yep. Yeah, with 93 last race with A.J. Dillett in the Busch car.
The last race you ran for him?
In the Busch car, we were going cup racing the next year.
And that ruined it.
Well, I mean, it just didn't have the resources. But back to that race, if you go back and watch that race, I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. We had a pretty good hot rod, and man, was really lucky a couple of times. Joe Bessie got under me, got in front of me. He spun coming off a 2, and if you look, I missed him by inches. And then Mark Martin spun, also trying to pass me in the same spot, missed him by inches. But me and Sterling Marlin raced really hard there at the end. But that was a fun racetrack. You'd have liked it.
Sterling Marlin seemed like he was a nice guy.
Sterling was always a good guy. He was a good racer, good clean racer. He had a lot of success in a lot of different vehicles. Yeah.
Last thing I want to touch on before we roll is what's going on with the foundation right now. What's going on with ACUB, and ACUB we've talked about before is the Army Compatible Use Buffer program that protects land around the military bases, and we just got done doing a big burn with Water Axe, one of the partners. What's going on right now? It's March. What's kind of the plan on the property, and what else is going on in the foundation world?
Right here lately, been doing a lot of burns. Burned that 8-acre spot last Wednesday, which is where the longleaf is. Had had one fire jump out and burned a oak ridge, which was actually turned out to be wonderful. So I talked to 2 other prescribed burners. Fire got jumping around because of winds shifting last week. We're in fire danger area right now. That's, North Carolina, South Carolina's got a lot of fires out of control. But with this oak forest initiative that we're doing with the Department of Forestry, burning through some of these oak forests is one of the tools. We just got to make sure the relative humidity is not too low and that we don't have too much wind. So really, we're trying to kill some small stems and get the leaf litter where vegetation can grow and burn off a leaf litter. So got a lot of that going on. Just had a mulcher out there cleaning some fields where the sweet gum and particularly the locust had gotten out of hand that the fire wouldn't take care of. The REPI, or the Army Compatible Use Buffer Program, we're closing on some projects in Pennsylvania Friday. But with the federal shakeup with the federal government and them looking at programs, we don't think that it's going to be something that we got to fight to keep alive, but we don't know. So there's a lot of people that work at the Pentagon or National Guard Bureau that they know to get in touch with us if there's a problem. We did have a great outcome last week. We have gotten possibly, unless somehow it gets cut, funding from the Marine Corps to do some projects around Quantico. So that's something we've been working on for about a year. So we ought to be able to, in the next couple of months, start closing and getting some projects completed to help protect Quantico. So really excited about that. And we're also going to be moving to Wyoming at some point later in the year. So yeah, we're working hard. And I got to get in touch with your buddy Paul, because his mom called me about their 130-acre property and got some questions about an easement they want to do.
So, yeah, and what Dad's talking about is moving around to these military bases is protecting the base with conservation easements, so Walmarts and different things like that can't be built. But you bring up Paul, and they got 130 acres they want to put a conservation easement on, but their lawyer told them, do not do that. And I told Paul, the reason your lawyer doesn't want you to do that is because he wants to make money off of it when you sell the property.
Well, so I'm going to talk to Paul today. They have a trust on the property. So with Hogan and Dr. McCarty, the trust may be what the lawyer's concerned about. So we'll get to the bottom of it. With T and Casey, they got some great partners that are experts in that space, and my staff is too. So we'll figure out what's the best thing for that family, like we do with everybody when it comes to.
And they want to protect the property so it doesn't turn into a neighborhood one day. Just like what I'm doing the same thing on my property. It hurts the value of it if you try to resell it. If you want to develop it.
That could very much be a myth, though. So it's recognized by the federal government as a gift, okay? Because you're gifting some development opportunities for the property. But there are ways that you're financially benefiting to the gift because it is a federal write-off. But there's a lot of landowners that have received good funding to sell their property. So it could be.
Yeah, it's just you just can't develop it.
Well, you still can have some development tools with each property. You're not giving away all the development. What I'm trying to say, I wouldn't ever not do a conservation easement if you want to give a land a perpetual voice, and not be worried solely about what the future value is, because a lot of times it doesn't matter that a guy didn't want to build a bunch of houses or have a neighborhood there anyway. So It doesn't necessarily hurt land values as much as some people may think.
If you're interested in a conservation easement, reach out to Dad and I, and we can get you in touch with the people that do all.
Well, there's a lot of information. You can Google it. Every state has different incentives, but it's a wonderful tool. It's quite a few tools out there for land protection, and conservation easement is certainly one of them.
Well, cool. You got anything else you want to add, Tom, before we roll on?
I think I'm good, man. Enjoyed it. Appreciate both of y'all. We've, man, what is this, 4th season doing this together now between the agency and this? So,
Yeah, and like one thing too, like you're talking about being loyal. There's been a lot of different people that try to hire Tom for me.
Oh, I would not be surprised at all.
Oh, yeah. What do you think the difference is working for me versus the race team?
Blowing me up all the damn time. No.
I know exactly where you need to go and who you need to work with. We just spoke about him earlier. You would be perfect to be his shadow or second in control.
What are you talking about?
I don't know who are. We don't want to say, you know.
No, I think the biggest thing, the difference with the race team, and you know what I like doing with you is, no matter what, we're doing it your way, our way, whatever it is, right? And I think I've told people this. I grew up in Pennsylvania, was a huge fan of racing. I built little racetracks out of cardboard in my basement when I was a kid. I think it's awesome that we get to do something that is ours in NASCAR every weekend, right? And I'm incredibly proud of the work you do, that I do, that all of the partners help us do. It's the biggest thing. It feels more personal, I think. And I've seen you go through a lot personally, professionally the last couple of years. Super proud of where you've ended up and where you're headed. And Ward's always been there for us, supporting us, and been a great home for me for the last couple of years. So yeah, appreciate everything we do together, and I think there's more stuff ahead.
Good
way to put it. Well, I appreciate everybody listening. We're trying to get better at the podcast realm, so appreciate it, and we'll be back in a couple weeks. I got to go to Phoenix, and I'm staying out there, and I've got to go to a military base to do a meet and greet with military families with Proper and Gamble, so that's pretty cool. And
that's awesome.
Doing that, and then I'm driving from California. I'm driving from Phoenix to California to Vegas. It's about a 6-hour.
Well, you have a
thing.
good
Yeah.
sight.
I'm trying to get Tom to
She
go.
tried to talk me into it. Or she told me last night.
Yeah.
I'd have to
Well,
leave on Thursday.
Better bring your boots, Tom.
Boots,
You better bring your rocket.
Oh no,
boots,
we've tried skiing before together.
yeah, Tom's wasn't cut out.
All
for
right,
skiing,
I got
but-
work to do.
All right. I appreciate everybody listening. We'll be back in a couple weeks.